Okay, so this is Carlow Town's Alpha 1, it's Class B water tender, which is one of 7 pumping appliances in the county of Carlow, 2 which are based here. This particular appliance will go out to every incident. It carries a range of equipment for firefighting, road traffic collisions and water rescue. So this particular appliance was built by Shion Cho in County Galway. It is currently, with COVID, it's crewed by a crew of 4. So we have our driver mechanic, we have our officer in charge, and we have 2 firefighters sitting in the back. And on a normal basis it's usually crewed by a crew of 6. Like I said, it's one of 7 pumping appliances. The main role of the driver mechanic who operates the vehicle is to get water to the firefighters for firefighting activities. The driver mechanic is also responsible for all the equipment on board and also responsible to providing the firefighters and setting up tool pools at, for example, road traffic collisions, and making sure that equipment goes back on the appliance when the incident is dealt with and closed down. As you can see here with our controls, we have all our level 3 systems here, which under the emergency services driving standard, this is all our blue lights and sirens. We have our communications with our control room in the ERCC in Dublin, which is now Tetra. We moved over to Tetra, and we're following suit with the National Ambulance Service in Gardaí, who are also on the Tetra system. So on the back of the appliance, you have seating to accommodate 4 firefighters. And like I said, with COVID, we have the appliance crewed by 4 personnel. The additional 2 firefighters travel out in our 4-wheel drive, the Juliet 1. But we're still providing cover that we have 2 firefighters ready to deal with an incident. Say if it's a domestic house fire, that we can have 2 firefighters ready to go with breathing apparatus. Here in the back of the appliance, we have our 4 breathing apparatus cylinders for our 4 firefighters. We have our handheld communications, fire-ground communications here. We carry water rescue equipment. We carry an AED on board. We carry pre-incident plans, which gives us drawings and information of all the high-risk premises in our turnout area. We have hazardous materials information. And we have ancillary equipment such as life jackets, hand torches and winching cables for the winch mechanism on the front of the appliance. For long duration calls, we have a cooler on board which carries water for the firefighters, drinking water for the firefighters. And these coolers came on board in 2018 when we had the last very dry spell here in Ireland, and there was certain days firefighters here from Carlow were responding to incidents 4 or 5 times a day to deal with grass fires. And based on the temperatures on those days, drinking water was quite essential for the firefighters. This appliance has been built to accommodate the firefighter to sit into the breathing apparatus.
Charlie Whiskey 13, Juliet 1, go ahead. Yeah, control them. Can you confirm that the ambulances have been notified of this? And also, it looks like it's
This appliance has been built with seating for the firefighters that can accommodate the firefighters to sit into the breathing apparatus, that they can actually wear the set while en route, while also wearing their seatbelt. So complying with the road traffic regulations is also in place here. The firefighters can sit in comfortably, and then they can also place their BA mask on, which is carried in these protective covers here. So while en route, the firefighter will don his BA set, and on arrival at the incident, the firefighter is ready to go. And also, there is no need to take the seatbelt off throughout the journey while donning their BA sets.
So Dermot, after firefighters come back to the station after a call, is the fire appliance cleaned down fully, or what's the procedure?
Yeah, well, even prior to COVID, the fire appliances are cleaned rigorously, and the equipment is decontaminated based on the type of incident it was. If you think about it, our fire hoses, they're dragged along the ground. You wouldn't know what type of materials on the ground that can place itself onto the hoses, and us as firefighters are now handling those hoses. So coming back from an incident, the likes of that equipment prior to COVID was cleaned anyway and disinfected accordingly. Since COVID, the cab of the fire appliance where the firefighters are sitting, all areas that are touched, the seats, the handrails, the steering wheel, gear sticks, any of the level 3 buttons, anything that has been touched by the firefighters does be cleaned and disinfected after every incident. Again, prior to COVID, with the type of contaminants that are in it, that are found in a fire, our breathing apparatus and our fire kit, at instance, it is a good practice to strip off our fire kit at the incident, bag it, and place it into one of the back lockers. So we're keeping the cab free from the contaminants that are found in fire situations. So our first locker here on the off side of the appliance, the equipment carried, you can see here we have a portable pump which can allow the fire service to make down to an open water source in an area where there mightn't be fire hydrants available. So out in the rural areas we might make down to a pond or a river, and we can pump water from that open water source to the fire appliance and then apply water to the fire itself. We also have here is a positive pressure fan, which is used for defensive ventilation post-fire. We have branches, which for people who don't know, is essentially the nozzle that fits on top of the fire hose for firefighting purposes. The branches allow the firefighter to tackle the fire in an almost surgical manner, that it's not a thing of just lashing on water onto a fire, that we're applying water to a fire. We're trying to control the fire and manage the fire without damage to the property, but also minimising any further development of the fire as well also. We have our compressed air foam branches. And we have our dividing breeches that we can make down from the pump, and we can divide a length of hose into two. So we can have a number of different areas of firefighting at the one time. We carry a toolbox with a wide range of equipment to allow firefighters to gain access into premises, but also to tackle the technical side of road traffic incidents, expose and examine the interior of a car, and also disconnecting batteries. And then of course we have our brushes and shovels, and up here we have casualty blankets for the comfort of a casualty for attending an RTC or medical based incident, and we also carry maternity kits on board as well also. Okay. Our next locker, so again, so on this locker here what we have is 8 64mm lay flat hoses. This is what the branches that we covered earlier attaches onto, and these can be joined together to the back of the pump and to allow a distance there for travel for the firefighter to tackle a fire.
What type of fires would they be used for in general?
So these particular hoses, they can be used for any firefighting application. They're your standard type of fire hose. We have 64 and 45mm hoses carried on board. We also have another type of fire hose which is the same material, does the same job, but we have them in a different colour just so for using the compressed air foam system. And they're coloured in yellow in the back locker here. Our sandpiping keys. So a lot of people will be unfamiliar with these. They're very familiar with the American style fire hydrant that you see on the television and on cartoon programmes. But essentially this is what you see here in Ireland and the UK. We've dragon lighting to allow us flood lighting at instance. In the rear locker we have our 6 45mm firefighting hoses. Again, they're the same material, same use as the 64, but they're a 45mm hose. And we've 4 52mm compressed air foam systems. Exactly.
So that's the calf ones,
the
is
calves, yeah. Exactly same hose, except we have them coloured yellow so that they're easily identifiable that we're going to be running calves through them. We carry oil absorb on our main pump and also our emergency tender and water tanker as well for dealing with chemical spills after RTCs, or it could be just genuine spillage of oil from a truck. We have our heights equipment dealing with working at heights, especially with chimney fires. That includes harnesses, rope systems, anchor points, pulley systems, and also we have here is our AlcoSeal aerated foam, and this is used for large-scale industrial fires that are involving certain types of chemicals and oils and petroleum products. So earlier I mentioned the driver mechanic. The driver mechanic is a rank within the fire service, and his job is to get the firefighters safely to the incident, but also making sure that the firefighters have the necessary resources to carry out their tasks at the scene of an incident. So for firefighting, this is the brains of it. This is our main pump, okay? It's a Godiva Prima pump. 1,800 litres of water is carried on board, and as you can see, this is our CAF's delivery outlet here. So here, these outlets here is delivering water to the firefighters, so we can have 3 lines, and again, using the dividing breaches we've seen earlier, those lines can be split, and then we have our CAF's delivery. That's what those yellow hoses are used for here. We have a digital system here, digital monitors, which gives us all the information about the water that's carried on board, the pressure at which the water is being delivered, and also, as well as that, we have the traditional gauges here also. And if the monitors do fail, that we can also have the traditional gauges there on board to inform the driver of the pressure that's being delivered, and also the quantity of water that's coming into the appliance, either via the hydrant or via a portable pump from an open source. Above the main pump, we have 4 suction hoses. And these suction hoses, they're a hard suction, and they're used to make down to the open source. We can either make into the main pump, or we can make into the portable pump, which will deliver water through the standard lay flat hoses into the appliance. But again, they're a hard suction, they're clear, that when we do make down, the operator of the pump, be it the portable pump or the main pump, can actually see the water travelling up through the suction and into the pump. And again, it's gravity fed. We're not actually sucking the water. We're actually relying on the gravity and the force of gravity to push the water, to lift the water up through these hoses. Again, as a standard fire appliance in Ireland, the appliances carry 3 types of ladders. They carry your 10.5 ladder and your 13.5 ladder, short extension ladder and roof ladder. Again, the 10.5 is carried by 3 firefighters. Your 13.5 is carried by 4 firefighters. And then your short extension, 2 firefighters, and your roof ladder. Your roof ladder is designed to give access onto the ridge of a roof, and is primarily used in chimney fires. So another responsibility of the fire service at an incident is to keep the scene safe, not only for the members of the public, but also for us ourselves and any other emergency service that's attending the incident. So if we're attending a road traffic collision, you're going to have ourselves, you're going to have the National Ambulance Service, and you're going to have Gardaí. You might even have local authority on scene as well, based on the type of road traffic collision it is and any damage or anything done to the road. So main responsibility is emergency traffic management. So you can see that we do carry an awful lot of cones, advanced warning signs, and lighting for the centre of the road to guide road users around the incident and to warn them about that there's an incident ahead. When you're working on the likes of the motorway, you're having vehicles travelling up to 120 kilometres an hour past an incident. So it's key that us as the fire service are maintaining the safety of everyone involved and everyone working at the scene. We could be working in one lane of traffic and the live lane of traffic, vehicles are travelling up to 120 kilometres an hour. So it is essential that we have advance warning in place, back away from the incident, and also that the scene is cordoned off to warn those road users that there is an incident there and the traffic is guiding them away from it in a controlled manner. Our vehicles, when they do attend an incident, they're parked off at an angle in what's called a fend-off position. And this is to protect the incident and protect those working at the incident, that if another vehicle does enter the scene, that it hits the side of the vehicle and veers away from the incident itself.
So when you respond to a road traffic collision, I suppose you'd often see firefighters going for this hose reel here straight away, even though the car may not be on fire.
Yeah, so at every road traffic collision, the officer in charge will be doing a 360, okay? But one of the first things we put out on the ground at the scene is a firefighting medium. So it'll be either extinguishers or this high pressure hose rail. And this is to protect us at the incident. If a vehicle that is involved in a collision, that we have water ready to go for firefighting applications. We have chimney kits in this locker. This particular shelf is everything that we need to deal with a chimney fire. As you can see, there's not that much involved. And again, if we cannot tackle the fire from the ground using a stir pump and a bucket of water, we then have to go to the roof, and that's where the first aid hose will come into play there as well. Another 7 64mm hoses that we covered earlier, and again we have our break-in tools. Okay, so this is everything that the firefighter needs to break or gain entry into a premises, be it for firefighting activities or be it to assist the Gardaí or the National Ambulance Service to gain access to a patient. So as you can see, we have your traditional firefighter's axe, we have our sledgehammers, small traditional hand firefighter's axe, which would have been developed around the same time as the London Blitz. This particular one here hasn't deviated since the 1930s and 1940s, and they're still being produced, and is quite a handy tool, especially for making safe a structure, a roof structure on a building. Again, we have our saws, our Bushman saw. Again, if there's an incident involving trees down or anything like that, and again our bolt cutters for gaining entry. We also carry hydraulic tools on board. Top locker is our medical locker. So all firefighters are trained emergency first responders and advanced cardiac first responders.
So in terms of responding to medical calls in COVID, what's your procedure here on this side?
When we arrive into the station and we realise that it is an ambulance assist call, be it just to assist the ambulance service with a extrication of a patient out of a house, or it could be a cardiac arrest, and we're the nearest available resource. Our firefighters are trained in donning the correct PPE, the gowns, double gloving, the PP2 or PP3 masks, and we all have personal goggles issued as well. We've all completed the HSE land courses on the infection control management and the wearing of PPE as well also. So that has done that when we have 2 dedicated firefighters who will enter the premises and determine any other necessary resources that are required, and if need be, another 2 firefighters will don their PPE outside and assist accordingly. But again, it's minimising the amount of firefighters exposed to a potential patient that may have COVID. We are treating everyone as COVID positive, and that's just to keep us safe, but also it's keeping the patient safe as well. So yeah, this is our main trauma bag, okay, which will have everything in there from bandages, absorbent pads for bleeds. We have diagnostics. We also carry SpO2 monitors, which will give us a pulse rate and also the oxygen levels within their blood. Each of our appliances carry 2 cylinders of oxygen. So we have one in our oxygen response kit, along with all our supraglottic airways.
Stay back there, go on.
Along with our supraglottic airways and our oral pharyngeal airways as well. So this is primarily our RTC locker, or the road traffic collision locker. So we have everything here from the initial arrival at an RTC. The officer in charge is carrying out their dynamic risk assessment. We've stabilisation tools here. So we have our boxes of chocks and blocks and wedges, which allows the firefighter to fill the dead space underneath the vehicle and place wedges behind wheels to stop the vehicle rolling forward or backwards. And the idea of these is that if there's any movement in the car is solid, okay, and that if there's a suspected injury to a patient's spine, that any further damage is minimised by stabilising it correctly. So that's one of the first things is done when attending a road traffic collision. We have our hydraulic pump, or Holmatro hydraulic pump, and this is what operates our hydraulic tools. And on the Alpha 1 again, we have our hydraulic cutters, we have our hydraulic combi tool, which acts as the spreaders and the cutters.
And these are what are known as the jaws of life?
Yeah, you'll see on television series and documentaries and that, and it's kind of stemmed from the United States that people refer to them as the jaws of life. So the cutters, its main job is to cut, okay? It's to cut through the material of the vehicle. Where the spreaders, okay, which is a lot thicker, as you can see, okay, the blades are a lot thicker, is used for pushing, pulling and spreading apart, okay. It's also used to even weaken the material. So if there's a particular part of the vehicle that the cutters isn't cutting effectively, we can weaken it by squeezing it with the spreaders also, and then we can go at it with the cutters to make that cut in it. And we have hydraulic rams, different size hydraulic rams, which is used for pushing parts of the vehicle away from itself. So if you have a person entrapped in the driver's seat and the steering wheel is in top of them, preventing them from being extricated straight away, we can use the hydraulic rams to place between the B-post and the dash, and we can use different techniques to displace the dashboard away, or the area in front of the patient or the driver away from themselves, so that we can carry out a safe extrication. This is the pump. This is the standard fire appliance in Ireland that you will see going to everything. And as we've covered, there's a wide range of equipment on board. There's a lot we haven't covered. Our emergency tender here on the left, the biggest difference is this does not carry water. It's a toolbox on wheels. It's rolled out to every road traffic collision. It's rolled out to every water-based incident, chemical incident, and even rescues involving heights, because of the wide range of equipment that's carried on board. Here we call it an emergency tender, or an ET. Here in Ireland, the UK, and even around the world, there's various different names on them. They're rescue tenders, rescue trucks, heavy rescue units, and that's their main function, is rescue. But it can also be used in assisting at firefighting operations, utilising some of its lighting capabilities that are carried on board also. And again, scene safety with traffic management. There's a lot of traffic management equipment carried on board the ET also. These are our hydraulic hoses, so this is what connects the hydraulic pump to the hydraulic tool. And again, this is our glass management kit. So when dealing with a road traffic collision, one of the important things we have to manage, as well as stabilisation, is managing glass, because the fine particles within broken glass, if you inhale that can cause further damage to a person's health later on in life. So to manage that, we have a specific glass management kit, which allows us to manage that glass and break that glass in a safe manner, reducing any broken particles that are in the air, to protect us and also to protect the patients we're working to extricate. So sharp covers here. So when we make cuts on a vehicle, be it on the posts of the vehicle or on the windscreen, everyone's exposed to sharps. And to prevent injury, we place these covers on those cuts and on those sharps, and there's magnets inside which applies itself to the metal material on the vehicle so that the covers aren't easily knocked off. We are now carrying another tool, which is a Weber e-tool, which is a combi, which is a battery operated version of our hydraulic combi tool that's here. It's operated off a Milwaukee battery, which if we ever need to replace, it's easily available to us in hardware stores. On-off button. And the benefit of this is we're not having hoses attached, but also that we can haul it across a large distance. So if we have to gain access into a field, we can carry this without having to carry a hydraulic pump and all the hoses, and gain access through a lock using this tool. It's also very, very beneficial in car fires, in gaining access to the rear of the vehicle through the boot or into the engine compartment. So other tools that we carry on board which allows us to carry out our functions of firefighters, we have impact guns, which are very beneficial in the removal of seats in vehicles. So without having to actually cut everything in the vehicle using our hydraulic tools, we can actually take the car apart in such a manner that we can put it back together again if needs be. And our airbag restraints. So a very important piece of equipment for us as firefighters is to place this airbag restraint over the steering wheel, where an airbag, if it hasn't deployed already, may potentially deploy. And if a firefighter is treating the patient and is between the patient and the airbag goes off, it can cause potentially serious injuries to the firefighter and the patient. So this airbag restraint will be, again, along with the stabilisation, along with the fire cover, will be one of the first things to be in place before the cutting is carried out on the vehicle, or the extrication process is carried out on the vehicle. So because extrication is one of our main functions, we are now carrying the combi carrier boards, which would have been seen first with the National Ambulance Service. All their ambulances carry these, and us here in Carlow, every pumping appliance in Carlow carries a combi board again. It's replacing the traditional scoop stretcher, but it is also acting as the spinal board as well also. So we can actually extricate a patient from the vehicle of a car using this, but also if a person is in a precarious position on the ground, it can be separated in two parts at the head. And at the base. And if we have a casualty on the ground, we can actually separate the board and place both sides in underneath the casualty with minimal movement, and then connect the board back up again and extricate the casualty from that environment. It's very beneficial to us as firefighters because we're carrying them, we know how to use them, but also if we're using equipment belonging to the National Ambulance Service, that the firefighters are familiar with operating that equipment too. So,
and that's leading into another question I had. This appliance here, is this the layout of this particular frontline appliance or first appliance? Is it the same in every station in Carlow? So if you go to a road traffic collision or any type of an incident, firefighters from Bagnallstown, Tullow or Hackettstown, if they're at the same incident, they'll be able to go and find.
So this would be the newest Class B fire appliance in the county. So the layout will be a little bit different,
okay,
but not significantly different. So we would be familiar, and we would have a very good idea of if we're sent to get a piece of equipment off another brigade's appliance, we have a fairly good idea of where it's being kept. Our medical equipment, our first responder kits are standardised throughout the county, so that if we're dealing with an incident alongside our colleagues in the Tullow Brigade or Bagnallstown Brigade, that when we go to use our first responder bag, we actually know where the observation kits are carried in it, and any equipment that we need to prevent any further deterioration of the patient. So that's our Alpha 1 appliance covered, our main pump. Like I said earlier, we have 2 pumps based here in Carlow Town, and our Alpha 2 is here behind you. Used for the same applications for firefighting.